Sometimes life is messy. Have you ever wished you could refocus your mind, home, relationships, and work life? Join us as we use research-based information to make practical changes and simplify life. This is Life Simplified.
Welcome to Life Simplified. This month has been all about food, family, and fun as we've been exploring the different regions of Kentucky. If you have been listening, you know that we have been using the 2024 Kentucky Visitors Guide as a reference, as well as a little bit of our own experience. We will link that website in the show notes below. Today we're discussing two different regions that are in the eastern part of the state. We're going to talk about the Appalachian and the Daniel Boone regions. What experience do we have with either the Appalachian region or Daniel Boone region?
I've been to a couple of the places that are in these two regions, and that it's beautiful, part of Kentucky, seeing the different parts, even though I'm from the western part, seeing how people live, the culture, and also just the scenery of everything of being beautiful. I've been to the Red River Gorge area. I've been to Oliveville area as well, and I've been through several, just like traveling through, but maybe not, got to like see all their things that they have to offer in their counties and that, but it's beautiful to drive through as well.
So these are more regions that I've not explored that much in the state. So I don't have a lot of experience, but as I said before, talked a little bit about Northern Kentucky. I've gotten some experience seeing different parts of the states because of a leadership program that I was in, and we got to travel to different regions. And so the only experience that I really have with this region is I did get to go to the Greenbow Lake State Resort Park as part of that leadership program. And I did get to do some really neat things there. It was a nice resort park. We got to go out on a boat on the lake, and that was a lot of fun. We did a hike through there that was really pretty, and that was a good experience. And then we actually got to see a play, which was an adaptation of one of Jesse Stewart's books. And so I know that the Jesse Stewart State Nature Preserve is there as well. And so that's a big part of that culture and heritage in that area. And so that was neat. So there was a lot there that I got to experience in a short amount of time. But other than that, I've not really been able to explore these regions that much.
And I really even love that we haven't necessarily explored these regions, because I think it's a great opportunity for us to take a look at and see if there would be places that we would enjoy visiting as well. As far as my experience, my sister-in-law is from Eastern Kentucky. And so my first experience was when she and my brother got married, and we did zero sightseeing. It was, we got there, we had rehearsal dinner, we had wedding, and then we came home. So that was a big whirlwind. But I do remember it being pretty. Mm-hmm. And like Joni mentioned, what beautiful scenery and how different it looked from the western part of the state. And that was just really interesting. And then the latest, I've actually been in the last few months for work. And I was really excited to go because I had not been in such a long time. And I knew that I wasn't going to get to do sightseeing. It was work related. It was a very tight schedule. We weren't going to be able to get out and look at all the different places. But just going through and traveling from different county to county was really interesting to me. And I took a lot of notes of places that I would like to go back. And when I think about it, a lot of the things were outside. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things to do in this area really seemed to, and as I was doing more research for this episode, it's a lot of outdoorsy type things.
I also have been to Cumberland Falls. That just dawned on me, which has been 20 plus years ago. And that is one place I would like to go back to. Well, I'd like to see all of our state parks, but that's one of the places that I really would like to go back and see how it's changed in 20 something years, like with everything else. Mm-hmm. But that was beautiful. That was a beautiful experience to see. And if you love nature and hiking, just like Ashley was talking about, it was a beautiful place. Also, I've been to the Natural Bridge, and that was my sister lived up in Lexington, and around that area. And we would go, about once a month to visit to see her. And we would always go experience somewhere in that area. And that was one of the places. And it's beautiful, which I think state of Kentucky, I'm a little biased, but I think the state of Kentucky is beautiful, all regions of it. I'm like Tiffany. I haven't been to a lot of places like up in the eastern part or northern in that, but there's places that I'm planning to go in that to be able to experience.
I think we should take a podcasting crew road trip.
I think so too.
Yes.
Let's take it on the road. We've been to Washington.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take the podcast on the road.
I feel a little guilty like thinking about it because it is so outdoorsy on that side of the state because it's so vastly different. Like Ashley said, I mean, really it's a large state and it's very, very different from one side to the other. And I like being outdoors. One of the things we like to do is hiking and exploring and being outdoors. And we've done a lot of that in our state to the south because we're very close to the Tennessee border. And so I do a lot of exploring in Tennessee. But I would really I need to explore more of our state parks and what we have to offer outdoors.
Well, speaking of parks, there are lots of different parks and state parks in this area of the state. And when I was doing this research, I even thought, Tiffany loves to hike.
I know, right?
What a great place.
I can't believe I haven't.
Yeah. I am combining these regions as we're talking about them, and I will try to make reference to which region it is or town or county as we go through. But once again, we encourage you to do your own research. If you hear of something that sounds fun, look into it. So you can even go to the city and county tourism pages. So not even just the Kentucky tourism guide, but each county or city or even region within the region have their own tourism pages. So be sure and check those out. But speaking of parks, we've got the Paintsville Lake State Park in Staffordsville and Greenbow Lake State Resort Park, which is where Tiffany stayed. We've got Yatesville Lake State Park in Louisa. There's Carter Cave State Resort Park in Olive Hill. Breaks Interstate Park in Elkhorn City, and that has been called the Grand Canyon of the South. It is across from the Kentucky and Virginia border, and there's hiking and mountain biking trails, rapids. Buckhorn Lake State Resort Park, Cumberland Gap National Historic Park, known as the first gateway to the West. And in this place, you can stand in 3 states at once. Pop quiz. What are the 3 states?
Kentucky, Virginia, and
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
I can see the answers. I can't cheat. Good job.
Yay! You got it. Those 3 states. There's Levi Jackson's Wilderness Road Park in London. And there is a treetop adventure in this state park.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, it sounded really cool. Lots of different, the quote unquote aerial trails.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you go from tree to tree in a different way.
And they look really cool.
It does look really cool. I'm afraid that I would get frightened, but
yeah, I can't.
I'm afraid I would freeze. I would get up there and then I'd be like, what do I do?
I have, in fact, frozen.
Yeah.
So I know it's not for me, but it looks phenomenal. And in my head, I'm great at it.
Me too.
Like in my head, I'm awesome.
Like, that would be so much fun. I can totally do that. And then I would get up there and I would just be frozen and everyone would have to go around me.
I attempted it on a cruise ship, which is not in nature, but it's the same idea. And I was like, this is great. I've got this. I'm in a harness. This is safe. And I told myself this, and I got up 2 or 3 flights of stairs, and I was like, nope, can't do this. And the husband was like, well, just go back down the steps. And I was like, I cannot. I am frozen.
I need someone to
Can't do anything.
I literally could not walk down normal steps. No. So clearly I have a height situation, but it looks like a lot of fun. And our friends who did, in fact, continue, enjoyed. So I think in treetops, that would be even better.
Right. I think it sounds like so much fun. And they even have different color-coded signs that show you that this is a beginner trail and this is a moderate, intermediate. Mm-hmm. So those of you that enjoy heights, I mean, in my head, I enjoy this, but I know that I would freeze. But I know my youngest child and my husband would enjoy this. So I thought it looked really cool. We've got Whitesburg River Park, and there is a trail there called Tanglewood Trail, and that's going to connect you to Pine Mountain Scenic Trail. We've got Kingdom Come State Park, and there's a little Shepherd Trail there at the top of Pine Mountain. And then Jenny Wiley State Park and Dewey Lake. So lots of different outdoor parks, things to do. Hiking, they all have different things. We've got hiking, we've got boating, there's zip lines at some of them. So lots of different things to do outside. If you want to hike, this would be a great place.
I need to go.
Yes,
I need to go.
You do.
And in all full disclosure, I have planned this trip in my head 15 times over the last few years, and I've just never followed through. But maybe this is that push I need to just go ahead and do it, because I know I will like it. I know I will totally enjoy this, and it will be my thing. I just need to do it.
Just finding that time. Too,
I know, right? It is.
But it's like everything else. We got to sit down and we got to make that time to be able to explore and see these things, plan it, budget it, and just then follow through with it.
And we know we love a good itinerary. We discussed that in Northern Kentucky.
Yes, we did.
We love a good itinerary. So I have an itinerary for you for
I like it.
Both of the regions. So we'll talk about each of them separately, and then we can come back together and talk about some more things to see in this area. So let's start in Appalachian. We're going to start on day 1. This is our 3-day again. This is from the tourism guide. We're going to start in Frankfort and go to the Salado Wildlife Education Center. Have you guys heard of that?
I have never.
I didn't know that was a thing, but
Me neither.
I'm intrigued.
So I am too.
So it's a small zoo that houses animals that are native to Kentucky. And one of the things that caught my eye in the guide was that you can watch bees communicate in the bee tree.
Oh.
That sounded really
That's
cool.
really cool.
And we think of butterfly gardens and going to see things like that. And then head on over to Moorhead to the Minor E. Clark Fish Hatchery, which from what I have read, this is the place for bird watching. So if we've got any bird watching listeners, this might be on your to-do list. So there's day 1. Day 2, we're going to head over to Red River Gorge. And Joni, I believe you mentioned that you had been to Red River Gorge.
I have. It's beautiful.
I'm planning a trip to Red River Gorge. And I mentioned in my Northern Kentucky episode that I was planning a trip to Northern Kentucky, and that got changed. Well, my Red River Gorge trip got changed as well, but I'm looking for it in the fall. So I'm really excited. I think that will be a beautiful time to go.
Yeah. Fall leaves. That's the perfect time.
Fall leaves. And I was trying to either get in the fall or the beginning of spring so it wouldn't be as hot, because outdoors. I'm going to do all the outdoorsy things.
You got to hike at 5 a.m. You can do it.
I can do it?
You can do it.
Okay, I'll try. Can my husband do it?
If he takes a nap.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
If I allow a nap, he'll be like, yes, I will do that.
Yeah. No, you got to go early. Well, for one, it's not as hot and not as many people, but also sunrises, sunsets. If you're going to do hikes, those are you got to find the spot for that.
So you've got a lot of things to see in the Red River Gorge area. There's sandstone arches, towering cliffs, got the river. You can hike the trail, you can climb, you can camp, you can fish, you can whitewater raft. Lots of things to do in Red River Gorge. They also have Gorge Underground.
Is that where the canoes, the clear canoe?
Clear kayaks.
Yes, kayaks.
Yes.
No, not doing it.
Really?
Can't do heights, also can't do caves.
Oh.
Claustrophobic.
So we want to do that.
Very claustrophobic. I will literally I would probably smack you in the head with an oar and cut out.
away.
We are not hiking. I mean, we're not going canoeing with Tiffany or caves or hikes.
So I can do the canoe open air, but don't be putting me in a cave in a canoe.
She's going to wait at the mouth of the cave. while we go.
I'll be
in.
like, y'all have fun.
Peace out.
Okay, so I think that looks really cool. I would like to do that part. So if you say no to the cave, there's also a Kentucky Reptile Zoo nearby that is on our itinerary. So you can go hang out with the reptiles. Maybe there's a snake there that you can see like I did at Northern Kentucky. So we've got lots on day 2. You're in the Red River Gorge area and you can explore all of the things that you would like to explore. Day 3, we're going to head on over to Slade and Prestonburg and go to the Jenny Wiley State Resort Park that we mentioned earlier, and you can take a look at the elk there.
I love elk. They're beautiful creatures.
There is our Appalachian itinerary. If we're going to move on over to Daniel Boone region, day 1, we're going to start at Cumberland Gap Historical Park. In Williamsburg, there's a Hal Rogers Entertainment Center that has lots of different things to do. So when we talked about in our first episode about how we like to do vacations differently depending on who we're with. So if we need activities and things to do, there's Kentucky Splash Water Park, there's go-karts, there's mini golf, there's a batting cage, there's a driving range. There seems to be something for everyone. You can head on over to Cumberland Falls Resort at the end of the day, or head on over to Corbin and stay there, because our second day is going to be in the Cumberland Falls area, which has been called the Niagara of the South. And we're going to go to Harlan Sanders Cafe and Museum.
Yeah. Hey, question. So is Cumberland Falls where you can see a moonbow? Is that the moonbow place? So I think if you hike this at night on a full moon, or like, I think it's a full moon, you can see a moonbow. Like, it's like a rainbow, but it's at night. And there's only like so many places, from my understanding, like in the world that you can see a moonbow. And I'm thinking this is one of them. So like, you might want to plan your trip around what the moon cycle's doing if you want to do this moonbow hike. I've read about it because I want to do this hike, but it's one of those that's on the to-do list.
That's cool.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. And at our Harlan Sanders Cafe and our museum, we can see where Colonel Sanders created that secret recipe.
Actually, you know what? I had to do some training for work in that area, and I got to see the original KFC.
I love
That's
it.
so
I
cool.
love it.
I did not get to go eat there, but I did get to go buy it. It was really cool. So...
And I think they have like some special things on their menu at
They
that one that
do.
you cannot get at any other KFC. So if you
Yes.
get the chance to go, like, check out those special items.
Yes, and they do. So I think that's really cool that, you know, we do still have the original KFC here in the state of Kentucky.
That's fun. And then we're going to head on over to Natural Bridge for the evening, so that on day 3, we can start exploring Natural Bridge. And Joni mentioned that she has been there.
I have been there. That was back in my younger years. It's beautiful. If you ever do get the chance to go see it, it is absolutely beautiful. But it does pertain heights. So
Yeah.
as I was younger, heights did not bother me. But as I have got older, they do. So I probably would never be able to walk back out there like I did before, but I could get to the edge and see all other things. But it does pertain far as, you know, some height.
That's the one thing I'm not sure about. Like, I really want to go. I want to do the thing. I want to go out where you can get the picture where you're doing the whole thing. And I don't know. My height thing is weird. Like, so sometimes I can handle things I don't think I should be able to handle. So I don't know. But I want to go. And the more that we talk about this area and this region and these hikes and these places, the more I'm like, why on earth have I not been there? So, and I think not only would I love this, and my husband would love this, we like to hike together, but I think my kids would really love this. We have taken them on some hikes and they do surprisingly well. Even my almost 8-year-old does really well on even some pretty intense and long hikes. So gosh, we gotta do this.
You know, I'm gonna say it again. The state of Kentucky has so many beautiful things to see, just all over the state, and it just amazes me, like, of what it offers.
Yeah.
We do. We have a beautiful state.
From exercising, physical, you know, history, whatever it is, we've got all different types, you know, to offer to all different type of people.
We do. And as far as Natural Bridge goes, I've actually stayed at the resort, and I'm kicking myself because I did not take the hike to go see Natural Bridge that evening when we got back, and I'm kicking myself, but I've got it planned. It's coming up this fall. It's going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to going and exploring that area more when I have the time for exploration rather than I have a very tight schedule.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, you just have to do it, because we spend so much time planning trips in other areas, going to other states, going to the coast, going different places, and we have, like Joni said, so much to offer here. And another thing that did strike me, because the one time I have been to the eastern side of the state, is the nature and the hiking, but also the arts. Arts are so big in that part of the state. Not that they're not everywhere, but I feel like they really cling to that's part of the culture in that area, is the arts, both in music and acting and just visual art. Just all aspects of art is so big and so much a part of that culture. So if you're not necessarily into like the outdoorsy part, you don't want to do the big hikes or those type of things, I think if art is something that you really appreciate and you value in the culture there, like there's so many opportunities to explore that aspect as well.
Yes. Speaking of, we have spent a lot of time talking about the outdoorsy things, but we'll switch gears to the arts. There is Loretta Lynn's home place. Mm-hmm. And you can take a look at the 1930s, 1940s, where she spent her childhood. And there's a coal miners museum nearby that area as well.
And I believe she still has a lot of family that actually lives there.
I think she does too.
Yeah.
I think from what I've read in that, she still does have lots of family still there. Just like Pikeville, the Hatfield and McCoys, you hear about, far as their feud for years, and learning about that history in Pikeville, and that, I think that's really, really cool. So,
and they have a driving tour so that you can see different sites that were associated with that feud.
I think some of the cool things, like thinking about Loretta Lynn and the Hatfields and McCoys and some of those things, those are things like if you're thinking about exploring that area, whether you're from Kentucky or from somewhere else, there are like movies and miniseries that you can watch to kind of familiarize yourself with the story there, with the history of both the feud and Loretta Lynn and all of those things. And so it's really neat because I have watched those things. I do have an understanding of those. And I think being able to go and actually see those things really just kind of brings it full circle. So, if you're thinking maybe I want to do this, or you're curious what these things are, if you've not heard of them before, maybe you're nowhere from here and you haven't heard of these things, check them out. They're pretty interesting.
There's the US 23 Country Music Highway Museum, and there's information about Loretta Lynn, Keith Whitley, Chris Stapleton. They have Thursday night front porch picking sessions. There's Highlands Museum and Discovery Center that has information about Billy Ray Cyrus and the Judds, names that many of us have heard.
We have a lot of, musicians that have come from the state of Kentucky, or even actors and actresses, so, that's kind of cool and interesting facts to know about as well.
And if you love music festivals, I know a lot of people that travel to different music festivals. There is a 5-day music festival in June in Moorhead. I know we're in July right now, but you can be thinking for next year.
Absolutely.
It's called Rudy Fest. In Manchester over Labor Day weekend, there's Manchester Music Fest. So a couple of different options on music festivals. We've got the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame and Museum in Mount Vernon. As far as the arts go, Appalachian Artisan Center, there's different art exhibits, hands-on workshops that you can make a stringed musical instrument, which I thought was really cool. And another museum, the Gateway Regional Arts Center in Mount Sterling. It's along the Mount Sterling Art Trail. Kenyan art, mosaics, sculptures. There's workshops there. There's theater performances. So lots of options for arts and music in this area as well. So like we mentioned earlier, if the outdoorsy thing is not your style, if hiking is not your thing, you've got options. So we do encourage you to check out this part of the state. So ladies, I asked you last time, what are you thinking? Where are you wanting to travel in this area? You don't have to just pick one, but tell me what you're thinking about
I would
it.
really like to go back to Cumberland Falls, in that area. Actually, I have a family member that does live in that area, and I don't know, we've talked about going and meeting up with them there, but I would really like to go back to Cumberland Falls. I really would like to see the Grand Canyon of the Southern. I think that's, and I've probably seen it when I was there, but it's been so many years. I really would like to go back and see that again.
Yeah, so I'm looking at our, we have two different itineraries here, and they both definitely have merit, but I think I'm leaning towards the Cumberland Gap and Cumberland Falls and Natural Bridge, Red River Gorge, all of that really is kind of speaking to me, and this whole idea of a moonbow, it's something that's kind of been on my bucket list for a while. So I feel like that itinerary, again, I can't choose one thing. That's not my style. Although if you want me to, I'll pick the moonbow. I'm gonna go see the moonbow.
You sold me on the moonbow.
Okay, cool.
You sold me on the moonbow.
We should just take a bus. We'll all go
right.
to see the moonbow.
But if you live in this area and you listen to our podcast, give us some other places that we haven't mentioned today, because I'm always wanting to know more about other places in Kentucky and if we didn't mention it, let us know,
right.
Or if you have been to this area and you've got tips for us, absolutely, please share them with us.
Well, and I know the best food is always going to be where the locals eat. So if you're a local, to any of these regions, let us know where you eat. What is the must-try restaurant where you're from? The must-try food item that is just so local and cultural to your area. Because I don't like to eat like a tourist when I'm out. I don't want to go to the place that I'm paying for because of the name that's on it. I want to know what is the legit place that people who live here day in and day out, that's where they're going.
For sure. And we have just barely scratched the surface of places to go. And one biggie that I didn't even think that a lot of these trails that we're talking about is in the Daniel Boone National Forest, which has more than 600 miles of trails and has fishing and just all kinds of other stuff. So I apologize for leaving that one out, but a lot of them are connected and a part of the Daniel Boone National Forest. So I already mentioned that I am planning a trip in the fall to the Red River Gorge area, Natural Bridge area. So I'm really deep in the process of planning that right now and really trying to decide where we're going to stay and how we're going to get from this area to this area and what we want to do and what is the best way to get to see the majority of the things that we would like to see. And so I love that I've got a little itinerary to put my own spin on and determine what we want to see. So like Joni mentioned, please share your ideas with us, because there's no way that we could have covered all of the things that there are to do, and we would love to hear more. So send us your pictures on our social media pages. We have Instagram, we have Facebook. We'll be posting. We've been posting throughout the month. So go through and tell us where you've been or where you want to go or what you want to do. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for listening. This is Life Simplified.
Thanks for listening to Life Simplified. We are family and consumer sciences agents with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Contact us at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com.